Just a moment, please. Okay, so now it should definitely work. Yeah, welcome to our webinar. It is the first one of hopefully a few more to become. The webinar's name needs change to change, working with underserved communities. Today, I would like to introduce you in a very interesting topic. And from the next time onwards, we will have locals, we will have testimonials from the ground, NGO leaders sharing with you their experiences, their expectations, their success stories, and also explain a bit what are their challenges and why systemic approaches make a very big difference to them. My name is Manuela Pastore, and I'm working for a huge company. Let me just see whether I can, oh yeah, I can enlarge it a bit. And I would like also to change the slide. Yeah, my name is Manuela Pastore. I'm working for Boehringer Ingelheim, a huge pharma company, a family-owned pharma company, headquartered in Germany with more than 53,000 employees worldwide. And I have been working in an initiative called Making More Health since 2014, where I had taken over the responsibility to work with communities, underserved communities, communities living at the poverty line, and also to put it in practice. So I started in India in 2014, later on also in Kenya since 2019. I had a lot of learnings, a lot of also interesting discussions. And I realized also what are maybe the limitations of all the work that not just Boehringer Ingelheim is doing together with social entrepreneurs, together with employees, but also talking to NGOs to understand why maybe many projects of the past, a lot of money that has been spent by many NGOs, foundations, governments, had maybe also a limited effect. And this was for me always a leading question right from the beginning. But before I come to share a bit about that and why I definitely believe that holistic solutions are key, let me share a bit about myself. As you see in these pictures, I'm very often on the ground, staying with the communities in tribal areas, in slum areas, while bringing also partners, social entrepreneurs, employees there in leadership weeks. So I spent a big part of my life with the communities. And of course, as I'm working for a huge corporate, I'm also in office. So let's say I live also in a different world, in the business world. And then also in my private life, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. And yeah, I'm very, very happy and lucky to have that kind of meaningful job. And I would like to invite you to be part of it or to become part of it, and also to go a bit deeper when you think or you are interested to start a project as well. And I believe that we need to think win-win-win, a win for you, a win for your company, your organization, your NGO, but of course also win also for the communities we do it, and all the partners you bring in. So for me, this win-win-win gives me a bit of guideline how to do things. This webinar is more about how can we make also a bigger and more sustainable change making happen. Yeah, and to be able to give you an answer, I think it is very important to start from the community's view, not from our organizational view. Not because we think we have now, or we are a health company, or let's say even beyond Boehringer, we are what company, or we are an NGO dealing with children or with women. We do ABC. I think it has to change that we first connect with the communities and we understand what are the real needs, what they are really interested to change, and to pick them up where they are, we would say, when you are a communications expert, you would not talk about yourself, but you would try to understand where the people are and start from there to think what can be solutions. And another big question for me is also, do we measure the right things? Do we measure enough? If we measure our project success in terms of quantity and quality? Or is there something else that we need to look at? How do we think and act? This is the basic question. Is the system in which we live and how we act still the right one? Or has the world more requirements if we really want to empower people who live in these underserved areas? If you look at the people and you start from there and you ask and then you observe and then you are with them even a longer time, you realize it is not just, for example, the house in which they live, which might be very poor, very dirty. It's not hygiene needs they have only. You see also it's nutrition. They can just buy oil and sugar and maybe some wheat because there is no money. So they need to buy something where they are not too hungry, which then is not healthy. If you understand the energy situation, you might figure out, okay, they don't have a fridge. They don't have the energy to do that. So many nutritional items, but also production is very challenging. Education, of course, we all know, if people don't know, if they are not educated, if they don't have the skills, they do not even have the ideas what they can do in life, ideas how to create income, ideas how differently they could also think about many things. Culture and mental health is another big issue. If culture, or if you have lived for many years, maybe generations, in a surrounding of poverty, you might have lost hope. You might don't, or you might also be depressive. You might think, I'm not the one who can change it. You don't have this energy. You don't believe that you can change or your family could change. You just adapt. On the other side, if what we do does not fit to the cultural behaviors, to the beliefs, it is also very difficult that it is really accepted. And there are many others. I tried to list here a few, which I think are the basics, which have to be solved in parallel. And if we think about solving these issues in parallel for a certain location, a certain community, then it is also clear that probably one organization will not be able to do it, because in our organizational systems, we have focus areas. We have in our pharma company, we think about health. In a water company, we think about water. An NGO that takes care of families or women or children will definitely sponsor and run projects which have to do with this focus topic. And they will not build roads and they will not build water solutions and so on. But I believe that if these essential parts are not tackled in parallel, it is also very difficult that our solutions are accepted in a way that they can also be run long-term and that they also become sustainable. And I think this is a big clash, because on one side, we have a very clear project-driven system in which we act. So we think about a project, we develop project plans, we have very clear ways on how to define the project steps and milestones, and then we work on it and tick it off. What we not do We don't go beyond our own projects or programs. We don't connect it to all these other essential parts and areas which are listed here. We don't feel responsible even to connect it or to find partners. And I'm definitely thinking this has to change if we want to make more change happen, to make more sustainable change happen in the world. And then we have also to measure this kind of linking up, of building relationships, of bringing partners in. There is a very nice game as well, which I used to play, for example, with our managers during the leadership weeks, but also with the community members and with people who act as change makers. It's a so-called spider game or spider net game. People are asked to draw a spider net, and there is a time limitation of 1 to 2 minutes. It has not to be a very nice spider net. It has just to be a spider net, how they imagine it. And if people are asked to do it in a simple way, maybe also with time pressures, what happens is that you get a spider net that does not reflect its reality. So if you like, you could stop here and you can also draw within 1 minute your own spider net and then continue with the slides and with this video. For those who just want to see it, now I go to the next slide. And what you see here is the spider net, how probably most of you have put it down on paper, so on the left side. And then you see the spider net, how it looks in nature. What is the difference? The spider net we have drawn is very often simplified, it is harmonized, and it has also distance-wise very often a similar distance among this single parts, let's say. Meanwhile, if you look at the spider net in the nature, you see that the spider net has somehow a focus point from where all these linkages start, with, let's say, definitely also a huge density around the starting point. And then the linkages go in all directions, and also the elements which are connected, or the spaces which are connected, these small pieces are more like puzzle pieces, and they have also a different format. They might be larger, they might be smaller, the linkages, the relationships might be also a bit more far away from the focus point or very close to it. And this is, I think, also how we have to change the view at the issues underserved communities might have, and how we bring also solutions in. By the way, I think when you look at systemic approaches, systemic solutions, nature is one of the best examples and guidance you can have a look at. I think nature has developed so many good solutions. We just have to look at it and to copy things, to understand how does nature do it, how do they work together in systems, and how do they form different systems. It's not just one system, they have systems of systems, and we often think in doing something, scaling it up, making it big in one area, but we don't think about many other areas who could be connected to it from one system, and then maybe the system themselves, they form another system. So if you just think also about your skin, we do not have just one cell, we have thousands of cells, and these cells have also different functions. And so there are systems of cells working together with other systems of cells, and maybe we have to look at it and go deeper into it in one of our next sessions also, and to see how this works in practice. What are my main learnings? My main learnings, or my top learning, is definitely if we really are interested in a sustainable change, in running our projects in a sustainable way, then we are not just responsible for the project, which is on our agenda, but we have to understand, first of all, the context if this project fits, how it fits. We have to see the dependencies in which people live, and if this project and how this project is connected to these dependencies. We have to implement the activities in a way that they are a puzzle piece in a bigger picture. And this means we are also responsible to build these linkages. And this does not mean that we scale up our own project only, but that we have also a certain responsibility for all the other topics. And if we can't solve them because we stuck in our systems, then maybe we can be door openers. We can bring in partners. We can bring in people who can reach where we can't reach. And I'm saying this not just to people who stay now in other organizations, companies, NGOs who might be interested to collaborate with us, but also to the community themselves I'm working with. They are also door opener. They can also share in a different way. They can also take different roles. I come back to this in a minute. Another learning is listen, listen, and listen again. What is true in location 1 may look different a few kilometers away. It makes a difference if a village, for example, is located close to the main road, or maybe in the mountains, if a village, a community, a self-help group has a good, even informal leadership or not, if these people have trust that they can change, if they have access, and so on. So I'm not a big believer in figures, in saying, I know in this and that country or location, we have so many women who have this and that issue. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just saying this kind of look is too small. And based on such kind of view, starting your project might already be a failure point in itself. Because if you just go back to facts and figures, they might not even be actual, they might not reflect what's there. And secondly, just imagine someone knocks at your door and wants to know about your life and a certain situation in your life, how you deal with water, how you deal with nutrition, how you deal within your family. I'm not so sure if you would tell someone you don't know. That's why trust and relationship building first is so important. If you don't build trust to the communities you want to work with, if you don't build these kind of relationships first, maybe the facts you get out of surveys might not be the whole reality. They might not reflect the real need. They might not reflect what is challenging. So if I live there in these conditions and someone comes, okay, I build you something or I give you something, of course I would accept it, because it is at least something that comes in. If it's really helpful, if it is really what I need, is another question. So building trust, building relationships is key, also to be able to listen in the right way. And listening is a continuous process. It is not something you do once at the beginning, once at the end, and then it is as it is. But listening means also you go much deeper. You hear many voices. You hear also voices who might not respond to surveys, who might not be very extrovert to share openly with you. And you might also observe some things which they do not maybe even realize or value in a way that they should share. Be transparent and lead when needed. Yeah. And this means in all situations where in your activity you are in contact with, Here in my case, very often we connect social entrepreneurs, we bring them on the ground. I have to lead them in a way that they can get access to this community, that I'm the door opener. I have to give them some first indications. What could be a good starting point? How could they connect easily? And from there they can run. Or if I bring other companies, if I bring other partners, if I bring in even our managers in our leadership weeks, it's a kind of guidance that I would not even maybe say it's a long-term leadership. It is more a guidance. It is connecting the dots, and someone has to do it like a change engineer. And this is what I mean with leading. We should change from becoming or being just a change maker to become even a change engineer. And another big point is, whenever this starting guidance has taken place and the first connections are there, then hand over the ownership over to the people who work with the locals, over to the locals, so that they can own it and develop it how they need it and how it fits the best, and how they can also take it over and how they can spread it. It is not about a good project. Sustainable change is more. It is about having a vision, a real vision of change. My big vision is that we should change from running projects, which is, let's say, the standard on how we do things here in our countries, in our Western countries. And probably also here in our Western countries, it would be good to change and to go more for systemic approaches. Especially in the communities in Kenya and India I'm working with, I want also to make the people shine. I want that they can become, that they can develop if they like, not just from a victim to someone with a decent life, but to someone who can also shine, who can become a hero, who has a possibility. That's the change I want to see. I talked already about transparency. Let me talk also a bit about communications. Communications is key at all levels and to all. It is not just communicating to your supervisors, to your company, your organization. It is also very important to communicate right from the beginning to the people you would like to work with, to all the partners, to the communities, to the community trainers, the NGO leaders, in a very transparent way. And communication is always a two-way communication. It's not an information. Communication for me means also to exchange ideas, to allow that others bring in ideas, to accept those ideas, and to see how together we can achieve much more. The power of measuring. I mentioned that a few minutes before. Normally we measure quantity of what we do. We measure the quality. We have KPIs for this specific project. We do not measure mostly the exchange structures and how we build exchange structure, that this project content can spread out in communities and what we have leveraged there. And we don't even measure how we link it up to other activities, to other players, so that they can also run that out. Which partners we connect, or which partners community trainers connect, or is it even described in the project as a KPI? So I think we have to bring in more dimensions, and one dimension is definitely to measure also the linkage. Think back to the spider net. If we would not have linkages, we would just have the spaces, and this means at the end there would not be any spider net. And there are very interesting tools like network analysis tools, and we tried it. We, like, you remember the spider net with these core partners. We discussed with our core NGOs, who, by the way, are located or situated in different locations at a distance of minimum 50 kilometers. And we discussed with them, how can we measure relationships? How can we also make it a priority that we work together and that we bring in partners and that we build the linkages. So we have developed a commitment among the core partners, and we are also measuring it with an analytic tool. Interestingly, while we measure it annually, based on several criteria, how they work together, how we spread skills, how the trainings we initiate in one of the locations reach also out to the communities, also to the other communities in the other locations, how we link it to, for example, the local government, how much they are involved. So we have developed criteria, so you can definitely measure it, and you see where we have weaknesses, where we have strength. But the most interesting part was that we could measure and get a kind of system index for these core partners, which we call System Changer Network Kenya or System Changer Network India. And all main partners, so these 9 main local NGO partners who are in this network, they could also get a whole system index, but also their personal index. So they could see and compare themselves, where are we, where are the others? And this led to, in the last years, to a huge interest to grow this kind of relationship index, which means then in practice that they exchanged much more, that they took also the initiative to bring in more partners, to make it a real spider net. If you're interested, we will do a webinar also on this kind of analysis tool at a later stage. But I think it is time that we question also the way on how we measure the success. We look for partners to build sustainable long-term solutions for our communities in Kenya and India. So if you're interested, please contact. There are possibilities to come and experience first, where your ideas and engagement can fit the best. It means really on-site. Come and visit our centers, visit our communities, visit our community trainers, the NGOs, the people. Build your own experience, yeah? See where it fits, where you have the passion and maybe the biggest win for you to start from. We offer you also the possibility to understand the systemic approach, the system changer network, and these scale-up structures, these even local scale-up structures with the connected communities, and to support also specific topics based on your focus areas. We believe definitely that no organization alone can really, in a very holistic way, tackle the basic needs, which need to be tackled if we want to see these communities really in an empowered way, that they are able to grow themselves. And therefore, we need you as partners who are in other sectors, in other areas, who can bring the next element, the next puzzle piece to the bigger picture. Here you see again my contact details. You can write an email, we can connect on LinkedIn, and you can also see much more of our activities and partners we are already working with on these 2 blogs, Go India, Go Future, Go Kenya, Go Future.com. And let me also announce at the end now the next session. So the next session will take place at 30th of May at 10 a.m. Kenyan time, 9 o'clock German time, again as a webinar of 30 to 40 minutes. The presenter will not be me again, but we will have our first testimonial from the ground. Chrysanthus Ngulo Barasa from the NGO GASP. The focus of this NGO is working with people with albinism and elderly, but they work also with farmers, and they do it in a very holistic way while trying to tackle all the issues which you have seen in the circle before. Chrysanthus is also a system changer network partner, so he might also share a few things about that. And the idea is also that we have some time for discussions and feedback with you. The location where he is active is in Webuye. This is a town in Bungoma County in Western Kenya, where we have also a Mekimo Health Center. And if you're already curious, you can now have a look also at the website gaspkenya.org. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for allowing me to introduce in this webinar series, and I'm definitely hoping that you will join again next time. Share it with partners, share it with people who might be interested, because I believe we need to make ideas a movement. And even if people have a small takeaway here and there, some sharing that we can have together, we have to make it more practical. We have to make it really an experience for all of us. And that's why I want to thank you for your time again and hope to see you again. Bye-bye.